When I started flipping houses, I really fell in love with tile, the process, the products, how to get a good finish, all of those things. And 2 years into my attempt to be the most in-demand tile guy in Winston-Salem, I decided that it takes a little more than I wanted to put into it. It really takes a lot of focus. It's a challenging job. It's a physically challenging job. It's a mentally challenging job if you want to be the best. So when I decided I wanted to be a general contractor versus just a tile guy, I really sought out the best installers in this area. And that's kind of how Brandon and I got hooked up on a job. This is Brandon from A Sharper Finish, and you ought to follow him. He's on Instagram. He's on all the major social media channels. And we're going to talk a little bit about this 1920s restoration that we've been working on together. All right, Brandon, tell me about you. How did you get started in tile?
Well, for one, I'm not 6'4", so you know.
Brandon is standing on something to make him the same height. It's
short area.
Movie making tricks. So, if you didn't know how tall I was, this is how tall I am.
My name is Brandon George. My business is called A Sharper Finish, and I specialize in custom tile installation. I've been in the tile industry since I was a kid, really. You know, I grew up around it. I worked with a lot of different tile guys over the years, a lot of talented people that I really picked up a lot of good skill from. And I always try to hold on to those qualities from people I've worked for and use them to my advantage. So, you know, in this particular job here, you know, we had to really consider the substrate. A lot of older homes are not going to be flat and perfect, square, level.
So in case you haven't watched our other videos, this house was built in the 1920s. There's a lot of twisted framing that we had to correct. We had to put new subfloor down. Brandon was in charge of leveling that subfloor. So there's a lot of products out there that you can use. We chose the Schönox product to level this floor, and Brandon's going to explain why we chose that versus other products.
We chose the Schönox AP Rapid Leveler because it is a synthetic hybrid gypsum product. And being so that, one, it's very strong, it can handle pressure, it's not going to crack under pressure like most Portland-based products will. And this floor, we needed something very tough. We did a mosaic floor. We wanted something that was going to lay down smooth, flat, but also be able to stand the test of time as well. And that product was able to do that for us.
So this product being a synthetic product versus just a cementitious product gives us that edge in longevity and stability and ensuring that this tile doesn't crack.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because gypsum is actually much stronger than a Portland based.
So if you don't prepare the room the right way, you're going to end up having it run out of the room or down the floorboards into this first story. Brandon, what did we do to ensure that that didn't happen?
Well, the first thing we had to do is just, you know, I took mortar, just anything to clog up any holes around the perimeter, between the plywood, just whatever I could think of where it could go. I put dams around the shower area, around the drain, toilet area. We all had dammed around there. And then we used the expansion foam Schönox RS50, you know, to help, you know, fine tune it, keep it contained.
So this product, it reminds me a lot of when we pour a concrete slab against a foundation or something. We use a foam material between that. Is that the same type of?
It's the same concept. You want to make sure you're allowing your product to move properly. And because as we know, structures expand and contract all the time. Temperature changes, it moves. So we want to make sure that we're allowing enough room to accommodate for that movement. And that's what the RS50 does for us.
Just like anything in construction, planning and preparation really results in a better final product. And especially in tile, with this product, you have to prime the subfloor in a certain manner so that the warranty will be honored by that company. So if we fail to prime this floor according to the manufacturer and we miss a spot, or we don't get enough of the product on that spot, what's the results of that?
Well, the results could be that the product itself won't perform as intended by the manufacturer.
And secondly, we may void the warranty, but that's not really the point.
Now, the point is not really so much the warranty, it's about just using a product in the way that it's intended to be used.
You used a very specific type of mixer. Why didn't we just use a drill?
Well, when mixing this product, you really want a high-speed mixer, one that's not going to bog down under pressure. So the one we use is a column mix mixer.
It's a consistent speed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it maintains that consistent speed, whereas just a standard drill that a lot of guys use won't maintain that speed and get the mixture of the product properly.
Exactly.
Right.
Maintaining that speed is key mixing the product, because you want it to be lump free and consistent. And I mean, the idea, you want it to be mixed like really loose.
So there's a lot of engineering and science behind these products, and the amount of water that you use is specific to the product. If we don't follow those engineered guidelines, what's the result?
Well, just like when it comes to priming the floor, you could have, the product itself might not work the way it's intended. So we want to make sure that we follow the guidelines that are set for us as installers to use a product in a way that the manufacturer intends it to be used.
So can I mix half a bag at a time? I saw you mixed full bags every time. Yeah. What's behind that?
Well, mixing full bags at a time is really a lot easier to do. I mean, you could do half a bag, but then you got to really measure the water precisely.
And probably the product as well.
And the product as well.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do.
Sure.
So, one cool thing about Schönox, they have a bucket that has all the different levels on there for whatever product we're using. We just fill that line, pour it in there, and then the bag with it. So we do water first, get the mixer moving, pour the powder in as we go, so it keeps a nice lump-free consistency.
You set a timer too when you were mixing it. Does it matter how long you mix this stuff?
They call for 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So, if we don't follow the instructions on these products, what's the result in that?
It's like anything else. If you don't follow the proper procedures, it may not work the way it needs to work.
Okay. So read the bag and do what the bag says.
Read the bag.
Right. That bag is really cool. I've never worked with the product, but it seems to have a special way that it goes together so it doesn't spill.
Yeah. It's the way it's designed it is cool. I mean, when I first saw it, the first time I seen a bag like that, I was like, all right, this is interesting. First, it has a little tab you pull. It's just like a red line you pull it out, then you open it up, and then you have this blue piece of paper. That blue paper is just so if it accidentally gets kicked over before you use that bag, it won't spill over. It's just extra protection, keep from stuff spilling out. But when you pull that off, it actually creates a spout.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually pour it in there, easily. You don't have big dust clouds going everywhere with it.
Sounds like Schönox has gone the extra step to make this product really user-friendly.
They really have.
And that bag really seems like it would be very beneficial if you had to do 3,000 square feet of leveler.
Oh yeah.
Because you could set them all up in a line and just rip that last piece off as you mixed it and keep pouring.
Yep. And that's actually what a lot of guys do with that product.
So you had these rulers glued to the floor and you had screws set up in different places. What was that about?
Well, those right there serve a really big purpose into the prep of the floor. The leveling pins, what you saw the rulers,
right?
Those are good when you try and get a good consistent height in various areas. The screws were for places where I need it to be dead level, especially when we're considering bandies and everything else. Because we all know when we first looked at this floor, it was really sloping downhill.
Right. By how much?
Oh man.
Couple inches?
About 1.25 inches.
Okay, 1.25 inches. Yeah. So this product can build up quite a bit if you do it the right way.
It can. It can.
I see a lot of guys on the internet just mix up a bag and dump it and walk away. But you really kind of guided this product where to go. You had some different tools. You can't just dump this stuff and let it do what it wants. It self-levels, right?
Yeah, self-levels. Now, the idea of self-levelers, you need to encourage it, because all it's going to do for you is give you a nice smooth surface. So in order with the prep and everything else, we have to direct the product on where we need it throughout the whole pour. And this particular floor, we actually had to do 2 pours. We did 1 more the day after because we had to fine tune certain areas.
And can you just pour right on top of it?
And you gotta prime it first.
Again,
Yeah,
you prep it.
You gotta prime it again.
Right.
Yeah.
The tools that you used to kind of guide this to where it needs to go, are those provided by Schönox?
Those tools are my personal tools. We have what's called a smoothing trowel and a spike roller, also known as a porcupine roller. The porcupine roller is good for thin layers. You know, if you're doing a thin pour. The smoothing trowel, what those tools do is release the surface tension of the product. If you don't do that, you start getting air bubbles, everything else. It's not going to give you a nice smooth surface at the end. I also want to encourage that if you're not sure how to use it, reach out to your local rep.
There's communities online too. Tile guys want to help each other.
Yeah, there's communities out there, but I say calling your rep is the best solution you can do because they work with the manufacturer. They can give you the proper guidelines too.
And they want their product to be used the right way, so they're more than willing to help you. So once again, you can't just pour this stuff on the ground and let it go.
No, you can't just pour it on the ground.
You got to know what you're doing. You got to work with it the proper way. Read the bag, watch some videos. So when you're working in these old homes, you're legally required to test for asbestos. And if you find asbestos, it can cost tens of thousands of dollars just to remediate it so you can begin the actual renovation. And my understanding is that this Schönox product can go directly over asbestos and even carpet.
That is correct. We can go right over those products, no problem, as long as the substrate is properly fastened down.
So if it's floating or not bonded properly to begin with, you're probably not going to get the performance out of that product that you need.
That is correct. You're going to want to fix that problem first.
Which may be remediation.
Possibly.
So I said it before, I love Schluter. Brandon loves Schluter. Why do you love Schluter?
One thing I appreciate about Schluter, one, great customer service. You know, I have a good relationship with a lot of people in there, great people to work with. If you have a problem, you call them, they're with you. But my favorite thing about it is that it's very customizable. You know, we can take the tile we have on job and we can customize the Schluter product to the needs of that tile, just like we did with the curb here. And we cut down the size so it fits within. And throughout the process, you know, as we even laid the walls, you may notice I have niche written on here and niche written up there. Why didn't I put the niche in the wall to begin with, as some guys do? Now, there's nothing wrong with doing it, you know, beforehand, but I personally choose to do it as I lay the tile. This way, it's not dictating my layout. So I really try to accomplish having a full tile at the bottom and the full at the top with the tile.
So what you're saying is you can preset these niches. However, it's going to dictate your layout versus you dictating your layout by installing them later. So whether you're laying out crown molding or tile or any other element, you want to consider the approach to the room. Coming in through the door, what are you going to see? And what we're going to see is the front of this curb. So you chose this as our focal point, even though that back side of the curb is going to be a little thicker.
It's just a little bit thicker in the back side of the curb, just way how the floor is level. But when you're walking in this bathroom, this is what you're going to see. You're not going to see this, you're going to see this right here. So we want to make sure that that is just, when you look at it, it's just a clean, smooth transition to the shower.
As perfect as you can be with tile, right?
Yeah.
In this corner, we're going to have a vanity covering it, so it doesn't really matter that it's not perfect because you're never going to see it. Whereas walking through that door, line of sight is the front of this curb. This mosaic is actually made out of glass, and glass tile can be pretty tricky, right?
Yeah, the glass tile can be tricky because one, you can't just use any mortar on the shelf to install it. You want to use something that's highly modified with a lot of polymer latex in it, but most importantly, read the bag, make sure it says that it is suitable for glass tile.
Gotcha. And does that affect us putting this glass tile in this shower pan on the Schluter product?
And that's like another good point, because Schluter, they do have specific requirements with their product, and they make their own thin set mortars. But their thin set mortar on the bag says not recommended for glass. So knowing that we have a glass product going in the pan, the first thing I do as an installer, well, I call the manufacturer, I called our local Schluter rep and talked to him about it. And he recommended that we use a mortar that is suitable for glass, but also give it a few extra days curing time. Because what happens, that polymer, that latex in the thin set, it just retains moisture. So you want to make sure that you give enough time for moisture to escape through the joints.
So the most crucial part in any shower installation is called a flood test. And what is that, Brandon?
Well, a flood test is when you actually fill the pan with water, and what you're doing that is to make sure you have no leaks in the pan. This is actually the cheapest insurance you can do on the job, whether it's required or not from building code or anything. Always recommended to do this.
And it is actually required in the plumbing code when you put in a shower pan that you do a 24-hour flood test. You have to have 2 inches of water inside of your shower pan for 24 hours without any leakage, and then your inspector is going to come and check the installation to make sure that it's done properly. Schluter has an installation book that tells you exactly how to install their product. And something that caught my attention was Brandon mentioning the shower head and what Schluter requires.
Yeah, Schluter requires us to be waterproof up to the shower head in order to obtain warranty.
Which is interesting because the building inspectors also want us to be waterproof up over that shower head. They call it a wet line.